So I guess today is judgment day for myself. I'm going to see if my patience will pay off for me because I went all throughout 2.7 and 3.0 without doing any pulls. And I know in 3.0 in particular, I was able to save up about 110 tickets. I could have pushed this to about 115 because I do have some character story quests that I didn't do. There's still some Emborious exploration that I haven't touched, so I could have got a little bit more, but I was like, 110 is going to be enough. What I'm hoping to accomplish today is Tribbie's E0, and hopefully I can pick up a copy of her signature light cone. I believe I have about 6 or 7 pity on the character banner. Let me double check and look real quick. Yeah, so I'm at like 6 pity, and then for the light cone banner, let's see where we're at. Yeah, it doesn't even show a record. The last time I pulled for a light cone was for Jade, so I guess it's been more than 6 months. But I should be about maybe 6 to 8 pity on there. So hopefully I can win the 75-25. I'm not for sure about the 50-50. We'll just wait and see. Luca. Oh, whoa, that's actually an early. Okay, I was not expecting that. Either way, we're still gonna win either way because that's saving me like 30 to 40 pulls right there. So let's see if we get an early Tribbie here. Oh man, maybe. Tribbie, possibly, maybe. Yang Ching. You know what? I can't be too mad about this. He did come early at like 46 pulls. So again, I'm still gonna walk away with a W either way. And I picked up links as well. So, all right. It could have been a lot worse. Could have gone to like 90 and picked him up. So we'll see what happens. All right, 10, 20. What? No. Ain't no way. My account is luck boosted. That's wild. That is actually wild. Jeez, that's crazy. Picked up Tribbie, the comeback for the W. You know, Yongqing, you weren't gonna stop Blade from getting a new harmony buffer. You tried, Yongqing, and you failed. You done, son. All right, and that is Tribbie secured. And so now I am going to attempt the light cone and hopefully everything will go okay on the light cone banner. I'm pretty sure I got about 6 to 8 pity on here. It's definitely not more than 10. I know that for sure. Yo! That's the 4th 10 pull for that. Yo! Okay, now we gotta win the 75-25. I don't know about this. Might be Yongqing's light cone for all I know. All right. That's some good stuff. All right. Whew. Good. All right, and that is Tribbie's signature light cone also secured. Good stuff. And now we're gonna go ahead and start the process of building Tribbie. Alright, so first up we're going to go ahead and use E2S1 Bronya. One thing that I do want to point out in this video clip is that my Bronya did end up being terrified because I didn't want to take the risk of messing up the speed tuning, because even with Bronya, if she does a normal, she will advance herself by such a percentage. This is also an issue that you're going to run into with your Sparkles, your Sundays that don't interact with the enemy very often, because these characters are normally there just to advance somebody else in the party. So Tribbie doesn't have this weakness. This ultimately ended up taking me 5 cycles with Bronya E2S1, and we're going to do a Tribbie comparison afterward. One thing that I will say though is, even though Tribbie is weakest in single target content, I don't think that she's just so horrible that she's not usable, and you'll see what I mean afterward.
Lend me your strength. Fangs and claws got the fearless, not fear. I venture forth forever. Triumphant! Victory is inevitable!
You'll make good practice.
Alright, so next up we have Tribbie, and I was actually able to secure a 0 cycle for the first wave. I was not able to do this with E2S1 Bronya. A large part of this is likely just because of the fact that I don't have a good Xiao build. It's pretty bad. My March build is also pretty bad as well. I suspect I probably would have been able to maybe lock out a 0 cycle if their builds was significantly better, but the fact still remains is that with me using Tribbie over E2S1 Bronya, I still saw an improvement and was able to 0 cycle that first wave with no issue, even with the bad builds. Another thing that's super nice about Tribbie is that because she's doing so many follow-ups and she's able to attack the enemy so frequently, she has no problem dealing with the Borison Terrify mechanic. Getting that completely nullified ends up not being an issue whatsoever. One thing that I did notice in this gameplay recording is that Tribbie is doing a lot of chip damage. 7.4Ks here, 7.4K here, 7.4K here, and that chip damage is adding up progressively across the time of the fight. I feel like Tribbie kind of has this machine gun like damage to where instead of just doing one big super hit, it's spread out across a lot of different hits. Kind of reminds me of Aggie to some extent, but obviously lower damage output. I know there are individuals who will probably feel like Tribbie is not good for single target, and while I do agree on the premise that this is definitely her weakest scenario for her to be at, I do suspect characters like Ranmei or Robin, Sunday, maybe even Sparkle would probably be better than her overall. I don't think Tribbie is just absolutely bad in single target. I think she's can be a usable option for most team comps if we're ignoring, like, say T.O.T and Super Break teams, for example, because even in this single target type scenario, Tribbie was still able to cut off a significant amount of cycles in comparison to E2S1 Bronya. And I suspect if I had better builds on Xiao and on March, probably would have been a bigger gap difference. I'm gonna go ahead and let the rest of this video play out for the clip, and I think with Bronya E2S1 it was 5 cycle, whereas with Tribbie it ended up being a 2 cycle, so pretty big difference.
Got though. Never hesitate. I venture forth to hunt. Triumphant! Victory is inevitable!
So when it comes to floor 12, it did take E2S1 Bronya and Tribbie both 1 cycle. Borderline Precipice 2 cycles to clear the first wave. One thing that I did notice though is that it was more comfortable for me to do a 1 cycle clear for wave 1 when I had Tribbie around, because when I was using E2S1 Bronya, I was more reliant on not getting hit with the weaken debuff that would make my characters do 20 or 30% less damage. I can't remember the percentage. Whereas when I had Tribbie, I didn't really have to worry about that debuff nearly as much because Tribbie was compensating with her own personal damage. Now, when it comes to Negador, this is a fight that is perfectly set up for Tribbie. Basically, a lot of targets, hit count requirement to get through Negador's war armor status, so that way we can start doing that additional damage per hit. I think if we get more enemies like this in the future that have a hit number requirement, similar to the banana TV dino boss in APOC Shadow, to where we just have to hit each part a certain number of times, I think this is where Tribbie is going to shine the best in comparison to any other Harmony option that we have. And in the end, I believe I ended up cutting off I cut off 2 cycles because I started this off with 24 cycles remaining, ended it off with 21, so this ended up being a 3 cycle clear. Cutting the cycle clear down from 5 with E2S1 Bronya down to 3 cycle clear with using Tribbie instead.
It's coming! I feel that blade! Away we go!
A blade knows no mercy.
Vibration. That's better.
Chaos. Fail to send you.
Who's the little backstabber?
There's...
I'm backing out now. For nearly oil.
Just a little something. Impermanent.
That paradise may savor it for me.
It's coming! I feel that blade! Away we go!
Make good the loss. Fail to send you.
Also wanted to try out Tribbie in Apocalyptic Shadow, and honestly, I was pleasantly surprised with the performance, especially taking Blade into a scenario where he's going to be completely and entirely off element. I think the part of the reason why this was able to work in the first place is just because Tribbie is able to provide all type res pin through her skill. I think if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been able to get a passing score on this. So we barely got by, but hey, a clear is a clear. And I just want to kind of share some of my closing thoughts on Tribbie. I do think Tribbie is a very strong Harmony character. I don't view her to be absolutely broken. Only time will tell when it comes to how she'll perform in future single target content. Obviously, she will be the worst there. I am under the impression that she will continue to have relevance in Pure Fiction for a very long time, unless Pure Fiction goes through some kind of radical revamp where they only have like a single target or something like that. That would hurt Tribbie a lot, but I don't see Pure Fiction moving away from aerodation based content. And just now talking about Pure Fiction, I did get a screenshot where I used Serval, Jade, Gallagher, and Tribbie, and I was able to pull off a 36k score using Serval. So I'm happy that I'm able to use my Serval for Pure Fiction again. I love Serval a lot, so I'll be looking forward to using her again. In comparison to all of the other Harmony characters that we've got in the game, honestly, that's really hard. I think Tribbie is a really good general buffer when it comes to, she doesn't care if you scale off of HP, defense, attack, and I really like those style of Harmony characters, especially for an account like mine where I do like to play characters that scale off of different things, and if Tribbie's not covering it, then I've got Ranmei to cover it. And because of the way that Tribbie works, she does fall into that duo DPS kind of structure, which is something that I've definitely gravitated toward on my account, because obviously T.O.T, for example, Kafka, Black Swan, then you got the Blade Jade combo as another duo. I just love duo DPSs in this game, or DPS plus sub DPS. I just find it to be a lot of fun. Outside of the aerodation characters, I do think one of the biggest winners of Tribbie existing is Blade himself. Blade has very high HP, which helps out Tribbie quite a bit with her own damage. Tribbie in turn gives Blade additional damage, all type res pin. These are things that Blade would like significantly, especially if you're taking Blade into a scenario where the enemy might not have wind weakness, for example, because, you know, maybe they have quantum weakness and you're doing a Blade X Jade combo. I had received a comment on a prior video that I had released, and the individual had the thought that, well, Tribbie has a completely overshadowed Blade. I personally disagree with this. They do have different roles and functionality. And what I mean by that is, even though both of them can fill that sub DPS role very well, Blade can still be a main DPS in certain situations, and he's also somebody who can act as a tank for the team as well, absorbing a lot of the damage, being able to throw it back and heal off of that. Tribbie does not have that same kind of survivability unless you pair her with an abundance character that would allow her to heal whenever she's dishing out the follow-ups or the attacks or anything along those lines, which you would have to resort to Gallagher or Leocha for that. Now, who knows? Maybe the Memo Sprite healer that we get in the future, maybe they'll also have some coming out of a field or debuff that they apply to the enemy that would be able to replicate similar effects, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, for anyone who saw the first part of the video, I ended up getting luck boosted yet again on my account, getting Tribbie fairly early as well as her signature light cone. Now, I still would not have gone for the E1 for Tribbie, and the reason why is because my Blade has struggled with crit damage for a very long time, only having about 153% crit damage. That's fairly low. So I personally valued Tribbie's light cone more than her E1 personally, because that would help out Blade's low crit damage issue. As well, it also provides Tribbie with a good amount of energy, which means that she should have very comfortable 100% uptime on her ultimate. These are things that I value a whole lot, and it's hard to really put a quantified value to energy recharge. This is just me personally. Now, the E1 for Tribbie is still really good. One thing that I do have a disagreement of is when it comes to certain content creators is that they just say, oh, we'll just pull for the E1. The fact of the matter is that you still have to go through another 50-50 to get that additional copy, whereas the light cone is a 75-25. So for me personally, I would rather play it safe and pull for something that I'm going to have a higher chance of getting than trying to go for something where the failure rate is going to be higher. So far on my account, I have not lost the 75-25, but I've lost about 5 50-50s so far. It's not nearly as bad as some players, but the rates do matter for me a whole lot, especially when there's a Locha rerun that's probably going to be coming in the future, a Ron May rerun that's going to be coming in the future. I might have interest in Casteris, and then there's Kevin XP, well, Kevin variant, Elysia variant, and who knows, we may even get a 3.x DOT based character as well. So I have to be very conservative with my pulls essentially. Overall, I think I'm going to enjoy Tribbie a lot. I've had a lot of fun with her. I think she's a very fun character to play with. And yeah, Mihoyo, keep cooking. If you take another time to watch this or listen to all this, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. You be safe out there. Deuces.